everybody, and happy Sunday. It is the 21st of April. I'm Nate Eaton. This is Courtroom Insider. We have a big week ahead of us in the Chad Daybell case as we head into week 3. I guess you could really say 2.5 because the trial started on a Wednesday, and then we had all of next week. So I guess you could say it's 2.5, maybe 2, but jury selection was the first week of April. Regardless, it's going to be a busy week. Thank you for being here. I'd love to know where you're watching from. If you have any questions, I'll try to answer as many as I can when we get to the end. Tonight, we have a lot to talk about. Basically, we're going to be talking about a black screen, not that. We're going to be talking about what to expect this week as the trial continues. We had a kind of a momentous week last week. We'll review some of what happened last week, some of those witnesses who took the stand and what they said. The key piece, one of the key pieces of evidence that we have had thus far. And tonight we're going to take a look back at Audrey Baraterio's testimony. This is a woman, she came up this past week during testimony of being really close within Chad's inner circle. In fact, it appears Chad knew this woman, Audrey, before he even met Lori. And she was aware of the plan, of the teachings that Chad was disseminating, and we don't know who she was. What was she going to get married again? Was she going to get married to somebody? What was her role in this group? I want to play a bit of testimony from last year. She was called to the stand in Lori's case. I want to play a bit of that testimony and have you listen to what she had to say that got quite a reaction out of the defense, Lori and her team. And I'll never forget that day when Lori was sitting there at the defense table and her friend, former friend, Audrey Baraterio, took the stand. Lori just glared at her. It was something else. So we're talking about what to expect. And as I mentioned, we're going to talk about the witnesses who have taken the stand thus far in the trial. What's new? One of you emailed me and said, Nate, can you please explain what is new in this trial versus what we knew from Lori's? And I'm going to go through some of the new angles, some of the new aspects that we have had so far. Who could still testify? What to expect this week? And we'll, of course, remember JJ, Tylee, and Tammy. And then we will also answer your questions. So, a lot to talk about. Before we get there, some really tragic news to bring you tonight. Over the weekend, well, last night, 27-year-old Ada County Deputy Tobin Bolter pulled over a person and was shot during a traffic stop. He was 27, and Deputy Bolter died this morning in Ada County. 27 years old. He's the first in the line of duty death in the sheriff's office history. Just so sad and so senseless. You know, we sit in that courtroom every day, and it is those Ada County deputies that keep order in the court. The sheriff's offices in Idaho are over the courthouses. So those bailiffs, sometimes I jokingly refer to the one as the courtroom daddy who tells us all the rules. I did not nickname him that. This was another person that did last year. But though I feel like, I kind of know those people. And if they're not there, we notice. Well, I never met this deputy, but their entire department has to be aching tonight. And so the man who shot and killed this deputy ended up being killed himself by police, Boise police, I believe, last night. And all of the details are still being worked out, but we don't have to talk about him tonight. We will talk about Tobin Bolter, this 27-year-old who tragically is no longer with us. And we send our prayers out to him, his family, and his loved ones because it's just so senseless and so tragic. I wanted to talk about him before we get going because he deserves to be recognized here. So from that note, on to the Daybell case. I do have to point out a moment of humor. Got home Friday night, of course, we did our Courtroom Insider here. And then yesterday, I was out running a bunch of errands and with my daughter, and I texted my wife and said, I'll pick up pizza for dinner. And so I placed the order through my phone, and then I get this. Dear Nate Eaton, your order 10 is ready, but we couldn't put it in our portal. Sorry. Please see a cashier to get your pizza. Thank you. Pizza portal pickup. I leave for the weekend and can't escape portals. I thought I'd get one day off. Excuse me, one moment. So, sorry about that. The pizza portal. Don't worry, I got the pizza. Everything's okay. Unless it gave me the cough. I don't know. Just a moment of humor for you there, not to make light of this case because it is not a, it is a very serious case, but portals everywhere. Now, another thing I wanted to show you, lots of you who are new to this case have said, can you please give us a diagram of everybody associated with it, like a family tree layout? And that's exactly what our wonderful graphic designer, Alex, did. Let me see if I can remove this little logo here at the bottom of my screen. Okay, I did that. I don't know why it played the music. This is the family tree. And I'm going to take my little highlighter here and try to draw it out for you. So here in the middle, we have Lori Vallow. And we have Chad Daybell. Chad, of course, accused of killing his wife, Tammy, who died in 2019. These are their 5 children: Garth, Emma, Mark, Leah, and Seth. Lori had these other 4 husbands: Charles Vallow, who died in 2019, Joseph Ryan, who died in 2018, William LaGoya, and Nelson Yanis. And we have tried and tried and tried to track down these 2 husbands, and we have not been able to find them. I think they want to live off the map, and I don't blame them, away from the publicity, but she had those 4 husbands. Joseph's sister, Annie, you've likely seen her. I've interviewed her. She's, been on programs, and she's talked about how this has affected her. She was Tylee and JJ's aunt, or Tylee's aunt, I guess you could say. And so she has talked about their relationship before. Down here, we have from Joseph Ryan was born Tylee Ryan. And then Charles and Lori, Colby Ryan was also born to Joseph and Lori, but Charles adopted him. I don't know if it was legally 100%, but at least he, cared for these kids. And then JJ, his grandmother, but also aunt, is Kay Woodcock, who's married to Larry. Kay's son and daughter daughter-in-law, the couple had JJ. They could not care for him. And so Kay and Larry became the guardians, and then they signed over guardianship over to Charles. Make sense? On this side, we have Lori, whose parents are Janice and Barry Cox, and they have Summer, she is Lori's sister, and then Alex Cox. There's also one other brother, Adam, and then another sister who passed away. They just didn't fit on this chart. Adam was married to Zulema, and then from this, Alex is Melanie's uncle, and so is Summer and Lori. Melanie's mom passed away when she was young. Melanie was married to Brandon over here. They divorced, and now she's married to Ian. Okay, I know that's a lot of names, and that's a lot of relationships, but that might help understand the web of relations and whatnot. And I posted this, if you want to take a closer look, on my Facebook page, Nate Eaton-Reporter. It's also on my X Twitter account. You can go and, if you really want to study it and put it together, it's on there. But this can hopefully help you see just exactly the family tree. Okay, so who has testified so far? Lots of you wanting to know, is the witness order different? How do the witnesses look this time in the case compared to last time in the case? So far, 11 people have testified. Here's who they are. First off was Rexburg Police Detective Ray Hermosillo, followed by Madison County Chief Deputy Vince Kayakamanu, who was testifying on behalf of Fremont County, where he used to work. He is the chief investigator, and so he is in the courtroom for every second of this trial, much like the last trial when Rexburg Police Detective Ray Hermosillo was in the courtroom. We've also heard testimony from Rexburg Detective Eric Wheeler, from Fremont County Sheriff Detective Joseph Powell, from FBI analyst Nicole Heidemann, from Chandler Police Detective Nathan Duncan, Social Security Agent Mark Sari, so there's 7, along with Rexburg Police Detective Chuck Consitis, FBI Accountant Michael Douglas, Melanie Gibb. She's the first quote unquote citizen to testify. The rest have been law enforcement or like in official capacities for their jobs or whatnot. Melanie really is the first civilian to testify. FBI Special Agent Doug Hart, who remains on the stand and will pick things up tomorrow when when court resumes tomorrow at 8:30. Doug Hart testifying a lot about the text messages, what was found in Lori's iCloud, things like that. So he'll be back on the stand tomorrow. I imagine he could be on the stand quite a bit of time. He was on quite a bit of time last year. Interesting note, last year he was the last witness in the case. And now he's much, much, much earlier. They have changed up the witness schedule quite a bit for this trial. It is not the same trial. And that has many of you saying, well, then what is new? Because if you followed the Lori Vallow trial closely and you're following this one, you're thinking, well, I've heard all this before. There's nothing new here. Just remember, everything is new to the jury. Everything. So you have to put yourself in their shoes. Wipe everything you know, it's hard to do, I know I couldn't, out of your mind and put yourself in the spot of one of those 18 seats and think, how would you be processing this information, this evidence, this testimony as it's being presented to you? And think of it that way as being new. But putting that aside, there is new stuff that has come out of this trial that we, the general public, myself included, has not known. For instance, well, we knew this. We knew that Chad was being charged for murder for Tammy. That is different than Lori's trial. Lori was charged with conspiracy in the murder, but not the actual murder. So what's new here? Chad's actually charged with her murder. Lori was in Hawaii the night Tammy was murdered. Chad was at home. The death penalty is new. And in order to get death, there has to be aggravating factors in the case, in the murder charge. An aggravating factor could be more than one person is killed. The people were killed in an extremely egregious manner. A police officer was killed. There's a whole list under the law of what an aggravating factor is. And if those aggravating factors are there, you can get the death penalty. And sure enough, there are aggravating factors, alleged aggravating factors in this case. The police car video. I would say, if you were to ask me, Nate, what is the biggest thing we've seen so far? Like that's new, that's different, other than the Melanie Gibb phone call, which we had heard before, which is big. I mean, think about that to the eyes of those jurors. That's huge. But what else is big? I would say that police car video with Chad's daughter and him talking. And I'm going to play a little bit of that in a minute in case you missed it the other night. That was big. Chad, moments away from being taken to jail as the police are digging up his yard, and he's having a conversation with his daughter in the back seat about finances and bank accounts and credit cards and things like that. And he's turning over his shoulder, looking toward where the police are digging up the ground. And he says, "I'm not coming back." That was big. That was big. Other aspects. In fact, you know what? Why don't I just play some of that right now? Let me cue it up here. I'm going to, get that ready for you. Hold on. Let me change screens here while I get rid of this button. I want to go back here. So, let me just play this. This was, again, from the other day in court where we, for the first time, heard what was happening with the video. This was as Chad he took off. He was watching the police search his yard. He took off down the street, and he was taken into custody, and the police let his daughter come over. And I said this the other night, but many of you were wondering why in the world they let his daughter go over and talk to him. Why did he have that right to go chat with her? Well, think about the evidence that they got out of that conversation right now, with that camera on. Here's just some of the conversation.
Ron, just concerning the car, I know they,
Yes.
oh, okay.
What's that?
Oh, just about the car.
Oh, we'll take care of the car. We're gonna take
Is
it.
she able
And then
to
we'll-
get it?
Yeah, you can get that. We may have to go through the car, if you're arrested in it,
Right.
the things we gotta do, but then she can
She can have her bananas and her,
I gave him
her,
good food.
we'll try to get a car before it's spoiled. How's that?
You can eat it.
so Eric, or Ron, so like my wallet, will that be able for her to pick up, or could I turn that over to her right now?
Is that in the car, is that here?
It's right here.
That's, it's up to you. I don't see, can I look through it? Just make
Sure.
They're going to get Mark.
Lisa?
No,
Oh.
so
Is there anything that you're gonna need in that?
Well, she'll be running my finances, I suppose, so that has a little money on it. You could,
Okay, just, so these are credit cards, so you're good if she just takes them,
yeah,
correct?
in the middle drawer on the left side in Mark's room, there's about $9,000 in 2 white envelopes.
okay.
So get that. Yeah, so we'll talk more about car payments and stuff, but you have that password.
I do.
I believe the Hawaiian,
That's this one.
First Hawaiian Bank, if you use that same password for this account, it's Chad Daybell. Look what else is in here. The producer there. This has nothing on it. It's like $6. That has to go away. So okay, in that same drawer, you can grab it,
Remember,
is a piece of this. that
they're digging
was
up
put in
the
here,
yard.
and it's got the company card, company.
and they're about to find the
business card.
bodies. They found one body already, JJ.
So
And this
just
conversation
make
is
sure
all
you
about money
get
and company
that.
cards and things
Um,
like that.
And this is all in Mark's room.
Yeah, I put that in there. There's like a pamphlet with a guy who's sitting in. Yeah, she'll need to still have commissary money. Usually puts 30 a week in there. So. And you can probably talk to her too.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
I love you so much.
Cooperate with them as much as you feel. You know what I mean?
I'm stopping at 107.58.
Okay. I don't know if you caught it. He talked about Lori having commissary money. And he sent Lori $30 a week for commissary and instructs his daughter to do the same and tries to tell her where he would how she could do that, how she could chat. And Emma says, well, I already talk with her. Like I already have an account with the telemate. And so they had been chatting. I don't believe that they are chatting anymore. In fact, I would be very confident saying they don't talk anymore. But, it is something that she asked about, that her dad told her to do. And that video, we saw 22 minutes, I believe. But there is far more. There's like 90 minutes and that they didn't play. At least they said it was over an hour. So it'll be interesting one day if they do play the remainder of that call, what's on there, what we can hear, the remainder of that conversation. Okay, so I was talking about what's new. Let's talk about what else is new. We talked about the murder charges. We talked about the death penalty, the police car video. The children will testify. Chad's children, at least. John Pryor, I believe, said 3 or 4 of them will take the stand. They spoke out on an interview a few years ago on TV defending their father and saying that, he was framed and that someone could have come over the fence in the middle of the night and buried those children. Well, they will testify on behalf of the defense Remember that once they do that, that opens the door to the prosecution getting to question them. So that will be new. Greg Hampikian, he is a DNA expert. This is new. He's going to testify. He's a world-renowned DNA expert who teaches at Boise State University there in Boise. And he will be interesting. He will probably talk about all the DNA evidence that the prosecution is going to present. And I'm sure John Pryor will try to get him to, make his client somewhat look good. John Pryor also announced that a guy named Patrick Eller, who's with data forensics, he will testify. And Dr. Kathy Raven, who is a pathologist, she will testify too. That will probably be around the time when they talk about the bones and remains that were found in the yard. So those are the new things. I mean, again, if you followed the Lori Vallow trial closely, you're probably thinking, well, that's not a ton of new stuff. And we haven't heard from like half of it. The children, Hampikian, Eller, Raven, but we know that it's coming. And remember, we're also like 10 days into this trial, and they say that it's going to last 8 to 10 weeks. But bottom line, everything is new to the jurors. I went through who could test or who has testified. Here's a list of who could testify, people to watch for, who could take the stand. The witness list is sealed, so we don't know 100%. And it's going to be an interesting, display, an interesting look to see who will be taking the stand coming up. But here are some possibilities. My guesses, if you were to ask me, we know we'll hear from Zulema Pastenas. She was on the stand during Lori's trial. They've said already Zulema will be on the stand. David Warwick, Melanie Gibbs' husband, former boyfriend, he will likely take the stand. I would bet money on it because he saw the last saw JJ. Summer Shiflett could take the stand. That's Lori's sister. She had a pivotal moment in Lori's trial where they played that phone call she made to Lori in jail where she said, why didn't you, I would have taken the kids. Why didn't you let me take the kids? Heather Daybell has been served a subpoena on behalf of John Pryor. Not sure if she'll be called to testify, but she is Chad's sister-in-law, married to his brother Matt, and she could be testified. In fact, Heather and I, we were served a subpoena the same day several years ago from John Pryor. Mine got quashed. I would imagine after we fought and spent a lot of money on an attorney because I did, I'm report on the story. I'm not part of it. But Heather Daybell, I imagine, got another subpoena to testify possibly. There's a lot of people under subpoena. It doesn't mean they'll all testify. We'll likely hear from Samantha Gwillem and Jason Gwillem, her husband. Those are Tammy Daybell's sister and brother-in-law. And Samantha testified at the last trial. I could see her being on there again. Alice and Todd Gilbert, Chad Daybell's neighbors. Remember, they testified in Lori's case. Chad went to them, asked them if they would put their farm up for bond money so he could get bond money to bail Lori Vallow out of jail. They didn't do it. They asked about the kids, and they had kind of an interesting exchange. It was interesting testimony. I imagine they will be on the stand. And Audrey Baratario, I mentioned earlier, she was part of that inner circle, and she will likely testify again. Her name has already been brought up in court. They've already discussed it. And I could see her getting on there on the stand, and I could see Pryor really having some tough questions for her. And that brings me to the next point that I want to talk about tonight, her testimony from last year. Why is she so pivotal in this case when we really didn't know much about her before last year? Well, she was there during these casting ceremonies. She knew, according to her testimony last year, that Charles was dark, that Tammy was dark, that JJ and Tylee were dark or possessed or however you want to say it. She also testified that Chad had told her of this great plan, maybe the 144,000 plan. Was he grooming her to be part of this leadership group or whatever you want to call it? And a lot of people think so. But here is the part of the testimony from last year that I'll never forget. To set it up, she had testified for a long time with the prosecution. And then the defense, Jim Archibald, had some cross-examination for her. And then the prosecution came back on recross, and she drops this bombshell. Audrey Baratario drops a big bombshell. And then the defense gets up not happy because what she said she had not said in the grand jury proceedings when they went underway, and she had not said in the main part of her testimony. It was like she saved this for the end. And I want to know your thoughts on this. A lot of people didn't believe her. A lot of people strongly believed her and said she truly was scared of Lori and Chad and what was going to happen. So let me play this for you.
Things. I think counsel asked you if you were in 5 states with Chad and Lori. Chad wasn't with you in Hawaii, right?
That's correct.
And he wasn't there in Missouri.
No, he was not.
Okay. And so when you were participating in these castings or these circles or however we want to describe them, whose hotel rooms were they taking place in?
Theirs.
And when you say theirs?
Lori's.
So it was Lori's.
Yes.
And she was the one who talked to you about that, right?
Yes.
And she's the one who told you the person that the casting needed to be done on, right?
Yes.
She organized it.
Yes.
She picked the target.
Yes.
Now, the one on Charles in Utah, I think I asked you if you heard that he died later. Is that right?
Yes.
He was killed.
Yes.
And then there was one casting conducted on Tammy, right?
Yes.
And then she died.
Yes.
Okay. And I think,
Well, I mean, they were working on their own doing those things.
yeah. I think defense counsel kind of asked you about this friendship and why you terminated it, and you said that you were scared or in fear. Why was that?
Because of a conversation.
And who was the conversation with?
Lori.
Did she make threats to you?
She did.
What did she say? What threats did she make to you?
Your Honor, I think this is outside.
She
the
threatened
scope
to
of
kill me.
arrest. I'd object.
Hold on just a minute. It came up on cross-examination, so it's within the scope of cross and proper redirect. Ms. Rawlings, you can re-ask the question.
What's the time and place of this conversation?
And I think, Audrey, you indicated this was when defense counsel asked you why you ended the friendship, and that was in what month?
In October 2019.
Okay.
Yes, I had already made plans to leave because I had prayed about it and it felt like I needed to leave and end the friendship. And I was leaving early the next morning. And Lori and I were the only ones in the hall in her place at the time. And I told her that I was going to go upstairs and pack my bag and just go to bed early because I didn't want to spend more time with her. And as I went to go and do that, I asked her the question, is there anything weird going on that I don't know about? And she said, no. What do you mean? And I said, I don't know anything. And she said, no. So I took her at her word because I'm a trusting person. And as soon as I turned to start to go up the stairs, she started laughing. The kind of laugh as if you're laughing at someone or think something's hilarious. And she said to me, you're so naive and too trusting. you're like a little child. You'll believe anything anyone would tell you. And she said, you think the world is all unicorns and rainbows. You go around helping people and serving them. Well, I've got news for you. Not everyone's a good person. And not everyone can afford to be so nice and kind. And then she said that
So I want to just focus on what threats she made to you.
She threatened to kill me.
Okay. Did she say how?
Yes. She said that she would cut me up. And something about that she wasn't in the mental place to do that, but that she would get herself in that place to be able to do it. But that she didn't want to have to because it'd be so messy and there'd be so much blood. And then bleach and something about trash bags. And that she would bury me where no one would ever find me.
Okay. I don't think I have any other questions, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Rawlings.
Recall that.
You may, Mr. Archibald.
So this diabolical conversation that you're having with Lori in October of 2019, was this in Idaho?
Yes.
You'd been with her previously in October of 2019 in Missouri, right?
Yes.
You'd been with Lori previously in October of 2019 in Hawaii, right?
Yes.
And then you followed Lori from Hawaii to Idaho in October of 2019, right?
Yes.
And then you decide it's time to go home to Missouri.
I'm sorry. I didn't follow her. I did not follow Lori.
Okay. You just happened to go from one state where you were vacationing with her to her place where she lived. But you're saying that's not follow.
Objection, argumentative.
That's sustained.
So this conversation in Idaho is before you go to the temple or after you go to the temple?
After.
And so you're saying she starts laughing and talks about unicorns and rainbows and that she would cut me up and put me in trash bags.
Yeah, she mentioned trash bags.
Why?
Objection calls for speculation.
Overruled.
Did she ever say, I killed my kids and I'm going to kill you too?
Objection beyond the scope.
Overruled.
No, I knew nothing about her children.
Right. Did she say, I killed Charles and I'll kill you too?
She didn't talk about Charles.
Nothing like that, right?
She brought up being at the scene, watching someone take their last breaths.
And you have previously testified under oath, swearing an oath that you'll tell the truth. You have previously testified at a grand jury hearing. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Do you remember taking an oath to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Do you remember that?
Yes.
And do you remember your testimony that you did not say anything like this?
I was scared, and she had said that if you ever tell anyone, I'll come and find you in the dark of night.
So you now want the jury to believe that even though you previously testified under oath and nothing of this sort was talked about, that you come here today and say you are so scared, that's why you didn't previously testify about it?
Objection, Your Honor. Argumentative.
It's overruled.
What was your question?
You want the jury to believe that you just didn't make this last crap up.
I did not make it up.
But you acknowledge that you did not say this when you previously testified in support of probable cause, right?
Yes, Chad
Okay.
and Lori.
Thank you.
Okay, so that was Audrey Baratario last year at Lori Vallow's case trial, and she will likely go on the stand this year. I will always remember Lori during that testimony on like the edge of her seat staring at Audrey, like nodding her head like, no, that did not happen. And I don't know if it did or didn't happen. She testified under oath. Archibald was making the point that when the grand jury met before Lori and Chad were even indicted, that's a secret hearing where everybody gets together, the grand jury, and the prosecutor presents evidence and calls witnesses and whatnot, and then the grand jury decides if Chad and Lori should be indicted. Audrey never shared that, and she waited to share it on this testimony, and that's what really got Jim Archibald upset, as you could hear. Jim Archibald was Lori's attorney. So, could be some interesting things. Now, we don't know when she'll be called. What we do know is that tomorrow, Doug Hart will be back on the stand first thing at 8:30. Tonight, before we go, I want to remember JJ and Tylee, and of course, Tammy and Charles, the victims here. There is a memorial service for JJ and Tylee that's going to be on Saturday, and we will be live streaming it on eastidahonews.com. It's at 1 o'clock Mountain Time at the Colonial Theater in Idaho Falls. Kay and Larry Woodcock are putting the service on, and it should be a time to remember these two beautiful kids, and the public is welcome to come. And again, if you can't come, you can watch as we live stream that memorial service. And tomorrow I will not be in court. My wife and I are leaving early tomorrow morning to head to a wedding in the Caribbean, and I will be checking in though periodically, doing some courtroom insiders as often as I can, as often as we can. Maybe Erica could join in. One moment, I have to cough. I got home yesterday with a cough. So I'll be here on and off this week. I hope you can tune in when you can. But my wonderful colleagues, Caitlin and Kalama and Andrea, will be monitoring every second of court. And so they will be posting updates. We'll continue to live stream the trial all week long. And then on Saturday night, Courtroom Insider returns. And then Sunday night, back at it again. And then continuing on through the end of the trial. With some surprise Courtroom Insiders this week. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. Remember, if you have not subscribed or followed me on Facebook, please do so. You can stay up to date. There's my Facebook, my Instagram that has just some family stuff, not a lot of work stuff on there. X, and then our YouTube, East Idaho News. We also have a family channel called Meetin' the Eatons that you can tune into. Every night we're live, or every morning we're live in the morning at 8:30 Mountain with the trial. We usually start around 8:15. You can pop on, join the conversation with the other commenters. It gets quite interesting from what I'm told. I try to pop in, during breaks at court and say hello every once in a while. You can post your questions there, and then live written updates all day long. Of course, Courtroom Insider nightly at 6:30 Mountain, and then our comprehensive video. If you want to hear all of Audrey Baratario's testimony, you can go back and listen to that. And if you miss any of the testimony in this trial, we're posting them by witness. So all of the 11 witnesses we've had so far, if you want to go to our YouTube and watch them, review them, you can do that too. You don't have to listen to the whole days of testimony. Okay. Here we go. Hi, Nate. This is from Alicia. I'm wondering if Chad and Tammy had been sealed in the temple. They had. Chad and Tammy were sealed in the LDS temple before they got married. And that, I believe that question came up, Alicia, because we had talked about sealings the other day, what that meant when Chad and Lori went and sealed themselves together in the temple. Chad and Tammy had been sealed in the temple. My question is, this is from Louise, I think. On day 5, there's a detective being interviewed and Rob Wood is admitting evidence. Rob Wood says that this comes in by way of stipulation. What does by way of stipulation mean? Rob Wood says this about most pieces of evidence. Good question. So before the trial began, the defense and the prosecutor got together and agreed that a lot of the evidence could be automatically admitted. There's just so much evidence in this case that they went through it, and rather than every piece of evidence arguing it, because that's what could happen. You could present a piece of evidence as the prosecutor and the defense could argue to keep it out. They agreed in this large portion of evidence would be admitted by stipulation. So it's already admitted, no need to take the time to argue it. There are pieces of evidence that are not admitted by stipulation, and those are the ones that John Pryor might object to or have questions about. And I imagine there's some defense evidence that has been admitted by stipulation too. Hope that answers your questions. Kate, a few days ago, I thought you said Chad divorced Lori. Is that true? No, I didn't. That is not true. If I said that, I misspoke. But no, they are still legally married. Nate, I really appreciate all that you report. This is from Jolynn. Any chance you could take it, I try to listen as much as I can. Any chance you could take it day by day and give us bullet points of things you're finding out from this trial that we didn't learn in the first trial that would help us keep up? That's kind of what I do here, Jolynn. Believe me, if there's something new that comes out, I'm going to bring it up here at the end of the day. I'm not going to hold that back unless it's something super minor, super, super minor. But if there's anything new, I'm trying to keep my eyes, my ears peeled to that, and that's what I will discuss here. I will also note it if I can as we're doing the live, updates, written updates. I'll probably try to note and say, this is new. We're seeing video for the first time of such and such. So I'll try to do that as much as I can. Kit Kat Butler. Hi, Kit Kat. Kit Kat sound good. Hi, Nate. First, thanks for such an awesome job. Do you know why and when Chad's attorney acquired his property? Do the kids still live there? Is this some sort of payment? Yeah, John Pryor acquired, if not all of Chad's property, most of it, his house, and that's being done so that Chad can pay him, at least part of him. And Chad's kids are still living there, as far as I know, paying rent to the owner of the property, which would be John Pryor. So John Pryor argued in court several months ago that he was no longer, his client was indigent, Chad Daybell. And he asked to get off the case because he said, Chad Daybell can't afford to pay me anymore. The judge declined that and said, no, sorry. It doesn't mean he's technically working for free. I mean, I guess he is, but attorneys have an hourly rate and they bill their clients. So if he sold that home, that property for, assuming he sells it after the end of the trial and whatever, and he sells it for $500,000 or $600,000, maybe $400,000, then he's made that money over the course of 4 years, $100,000 a year, and then he probably got a nice upfront fee too, from the life insurance, probably, or something else. So he might not be billing Chad for all of the time in trial, but he's still getting paid. It's just less, if that makes sense. Hi, Nate. There's one thing I'm sure I have not heard you mentioned. What led police to search Chad's yard? Danae. Good question, Danae. So the police found some texts that will come out in court of Chad and Lori talking about a pet cemetery in the backyard. They went to Samantha, Tammy's sister, and said, do you know anything about a pet cemetery? And she said, yeah, it's where they bury their animals. They said, do you know where it is? She pointed right to the fire pit and said, there's a little statue of a dog. The police were like, oh my gosh, this is what we've been looking for. There were pings from Alex's GPS phone there, and it was good old-fashioned police work. Kid you not, putting clue and clue and clue and clue and this clue and that clue together and going. And they went there, and they also had, they were able to track how often Alex Cox was at that property and where he was on that property. And so those 2 dates, I'm sure he was moving all around the pond and all around the fire pit. And that's the places they went. They had cadaver dogs sniffing that backyard. I remember seeing them from the helicopter. They had it gridded off with pink tape, and they found those remains within a couple of hours, at least the burial spots of those remains. So that's what led them there. And it's a good thing that Samantha knew about that pet cemetery and where they would bury those animals. Okay. I mentioned the other day about Lori. Somebody asked if Lori can have the internet in jail. And I want to thank one of our viewers who sent me this. Shoot, I lost the name. But someone did a bunch of research, and this is helpful, I think. Lori is housed in the C block of the Women's Estrella Jail in Maricopa County, Arizona. The sheriff said during a press conference that she will not be housed in general population, but isolated in a high security area of the jail. That means she's locked down 23 hours a day and does not have contact with any other inmate. Jodi Arias was housed in the same facility. Anyone remember that case? Did you follow that one, Jodi Arias? Estrella Jail does not do any in-person visits except with an attorney. I had heard that she wasn't able to visit with anyone except her attorney in person. All visits are done either with a video on tablet that you have to pay for. It's 25 cents a minute. Or you can go there to the jail to visit through a video system, but you have to be on an approved list. She doesn't have internet access. And then after this, one of you sent me this, you asked if there are still people talking to her, maybe Melanie, her niece, or Emma. I don't believe so. I couldn't 100% say sure. I don't think Melanie is anymore, and I doubt Emma is. But that's some interesting information. And there's a bunch of you insiders that I really appreciate you sending me these off-the-record tips. There's some stuff I can't share yet, like about what Chad has for lunch, what happens kind of behind the scenes of some of these things. But one day, it's fascinating. We love the behind-the-scenes type stuff. At least I do. I don't know about you, but it really helps. So if you got any inside knowledge, you all have played such a pivotal role in this case. I kid you not. After we confronted Chad and Lori in Hawaii, so many of you were sending me photos around the island of Chad and Lori at Costco, at the rental car counter, on the airplane, at the airport. Many of you were sending me photos of where are JJ and Tylee, where are the kids. Once they were brought Lori back to Hawaii, one of you sent me the flight plans. I mean, that really helps us do our job, me do my job. So I can't thank you enough for that. A couple of shout outs. Lillian Lee sent me some lovely birthday candy. Lillian, thank you so much. We have Julie Jones, Joe Lawrence. Joe, you are dealing with some things, and I wish you the best. We have Belinda. Thank you for watching. Erica. Who else? David. Shandy. Thank you so much. And there's so many more. I just wanted to wish you all and thank you all the best. Wish you all the best and thank you very much for following. Okay, there we go. One more question before some special visitors want to pop in the camera and say hi. Just 1 minute. Just 1 minute. This didn't work last time because when my kids ran on camera, they tripped over the cord and we froze. Not going to happen this time. They're on the other side of the room. Someone asked why I'm interviewing Summer at CrimeCon. Summer Shiflett is Lori's sister. And that said that she shouldn't be allowed to speak and that I should interview someone else. And I don't know. Somebody was really upset with that. I think that everybody in most cases should be allowed to speak and share their story. We have not heard from Summer. We heard from her on the stand, and that was about it. We heard from her in the early days, before the kids were even found, while Chad and Lori were still not suspects. And I think Summer has a lot to say. I don't choose who speaks at CrimeCon. CrimeCon is in charge of that. I don't work for CrimeCon. I do kind of behind-the-scenes stuff on my own accord. I tell them, hey, if I'm going to speak at CrimeCon, I'd love to do some videos and bring you guys along with me and do some behind the scenes type stuff, which I hope to do this year. I don't get paid to go to CrimeCon. They do pay for my flight, but that's about it, in the hotel. But I go mainly to help spread the word about things. And I think that this session with Summer will be interesting, whether you love her or hate her or don't have your mind made up. I think it's important to be open-minded and listen to what people have to say. And maybe you hate me for saying that, but that's okay. My job is not to be judgmental. My job is to be curious. My job is to ask questions. And I plan to ask her a lot of questions. Nothing's off the table with this interview. So, yeah, that's it. I hope one day she'll do an interview with me on camera, but we're going to, maybe start with this at CrimeCon. And if you haven't gone, they've told me that if you want to go, you can use the promo code Eaton, Eaton, not Eaton, like eating dinner. Eaton, Eaton. That's my last name. And you can get 10% off a standard badge. I'll be there with Summer. I'm trying to convince my wife to come. We're going to do a meet and greet, and I'll see you around. We can chat. Maybe we'll have a verdict by then. We could talk about that. It'll just be great. It should be an interesting time. So if you're into true crime, CrimeCon's in Nashville this year. We'll hope to see you there. Okay? That's why I'm interviewing Summer, and of course, maybe we'll do a special like Courtroom Insider after the fact, and I can fill you in on what was said. Okay, now, without further ado, some special guests. Come on in here. Hi, Miss Emmy.
I'm not going to trip on a cord this time.
No, you wanted to say hi into the microphone? Thank everyone for watching. Right here.
Hi.
And this is, what's your name?
Elliot.
And how old are you?
5.
He's 5. And what is your favorite thing to do?
Play with my mom.
Play with your mom? What about your dad? What about your dad?
I also like to play with my dad. He likes to play Cover Your Assets with the whole family.
There's a game called Cover Your Assets out there.
Thanks, Grandpa Beck.
By Grandpa Beck Games that this kid loves. We all love it. We have a couple more games from Grandpa Beck we haven't played, right? Yeah.
They got some for Easter. The Easter Bunny gave them some.
Right. Okay, well, I'm home on a rare Sunday night during the trial. That's because we're normally on Sunday nights. I'm in Boise, and these guys are getting ready for bed, but here I am. Are you looking at the screen? That's the camera right up there. So if you look up there, there's the camera, but it goes on there. And here's the microphone, and there's the light.
Hello.
Anything else that you want to say?
And I also love playing video games.
Oh, he loves playing video games. Yes, he does. Him and Everett. Where's your big brother, Everett?
He's finishing his homework.
Oh, homework, yeah. Okay, anything you want to say, Emmy?
Thank you guys all for watching my dad cover this case. And even though... Don't put your mouth on the microphone on it. And even though he's gone and we miss him, I know that he's like gone for a good cause to come and, help you guys learn about what's happening in the trial. Because some of you could be at work when it's showing... and like stuff like that. And none of us kids know about like any of the major details or anything. So don't worry. We're just here for when Dad comes back.
Yeah, they don't know about the graphic stuff. Although they try to watch every night, don't you?
Yeah. But
yeah, some of it.
If there's a bad part, then Mom will say go after him.
Oh no, don't hit that. That'll mute us, then they won't hear us. But I'll let you push the button when we say goodnight. Anything you guys want to add? I want to thank you all again for watching. Remember, we'll hope to be here tomorrow night.
Thank you all for watching.
Yeah, same time, same place. Hopefully tomorrow night. It'll be a kind of a stripped down version because my wife and I will be traveling. And then the rest of the week, I'm not really sure what's going to be happening because we're going far away and it'll be nice. But I'll be missing the trial, but it'll be nice to get away.
Yeah. Oh, and one other thing, if you go like deep down into the Meet in the Eatons channel, you'll find our baby announcement songs and our vlogging days. Let us know if we want vlogging days back because I love the vlogging days.
We used to do video blogs as a family. I'm going to let you push the button when we say goodbye, okay? Don't push that button. Okay, thank you all for watching. Elliot, push this button. Hit promo right here.
Thanks for all the support.
See promo? Hit that.
Go watch 7 questions.
Hit that button. Push it. And then hit this button. That's where they can find us every night, Courtroom Insider. And then hit this one, main camera, hit that button, and then hit cut. And now we're back on camera. And now we're going to say goodbye. Thank you everyone for watching. Elliot's going to push this button in 10 seconds, and it's going to roll our closing video, and then we're all going to wave. Okay, should we count down?
Yes.
10, 9, 8, 7. Get ready to hit cut. 6, 5, 4, 3, wave, 2, 1. Hit cut.